20 and verse 3. We read all the way up to 7 last week. But I want to recap on a few things. We talked about the millennium, the 1,000-year reign of Christ, Kilia ete, and Millennius. The 1,000-year, there will be a 1,000-year Bible school. That's what it's going to be. 1,000-year Bible school. I think we're going to go there and we're going to study God's Word and just kind of get straightened out for the first 1,000 years, maybe. There's going to be no more preparation for war, of course. There'll be great change in the animal kingdom. Animals are going to get along. They're not going to be eating each other. We're not going to be eating animals. The Lord shall judge in righteousness, as we were talking about a few minutes ago, Sister Shirley. There won't be any injustice there in the 1,000-year reign of Christ. There'll be no more sickness. People can live 1,000 years. Women can have 1,000 children.
With no pain.
And they'll mind. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
They will mind.
If you have
All right.
children, you better.
Israel will finally have her Abrahamic and Palestinian promise. There's not going to be any more Arab-Israeli problems. None at this period of time. All right? The vegetation on the earth will grow like weeds grow now. You have any weed problems? You have weed problems, don't you? All right, weeds are all over the place. But back during this period of time, the vegetation will grow like weeds, so you won't have any weeds. If there's any rose bushes, are going to have no thorns on them. It's going to be just, everything's just perfect in perfect harmony. We've studied all this last week, and let's read Revelation 2 through 7. Young lady, what is your name again?
Serena.
Serena, could you read that for me? Revelation 2?
22 through 7.
Yeah, 22 through 7.
He seized the dragon, the ancient serpent, who is the devil or Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. He threw him into the abyss and locked and sealed it over him, to keep him from deceiving the nations any more until the 1,000 years were ended. After that, he must be set free for a short time. I saw thrones on which were seated those who had been given authority to judge, and I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of their testimony for Jesus and because of the word of God. They had not worshipped the beast or his image and had not received his mark on their foreheads or their hands. They came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
All right,
There's a
thank
little
you.
note here that says, the rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended.
All right. The rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years had ended. All right? Well, after the 1,000 years. Now, we look at our map over here. We've had the tribulation period. The tribulation period is over now. Here we come into the millennial reign of Christ. Israel will be on this earth. Israel will be God's administrator in the world. The church will be in glory above the earth like the sun, shining down on the earth in what we call New Jerusalem. And how big is New Jerusalem? How big is that city?
1,500.
1,500 miles by 1,500 miles square. The city 4 square is the old story. The city 1,500 miles square. Now just figure out for just a little while. How tall is this building right here? This story.
20 feet.
Look at it.
Oh, no.
What?
10 feet. 8
10
feet.
foot?
Yeah.
8 or 10 foot. Okay. 1,500 miles high of that. If you had a 12-foot ceiling, 1,500 miles high. 1,500 miles wide. That's going to be a gigantic city. Do you think that might house all of the saved? And the Lord's churches down through the ages? I think so. I think that's pretty adequate building, isn't it? In my house are many rooms. All right, many. Do you think there's more many rooms in that 1,500 square mile? Oh, I'll tell you, can you imagine that 1,500 miles? High, 1,500 miles wide, 1,500 miles deep. 20 and verse 7, did you?
I can get this.
Okay, 20 and verse 7. Brother John, would you read that for me? 20 and verse 7.
And when the 1,000 years were completed, Satan will be released from his prison.
All right. And whenever it may be accomplished, finished, and completed, all right, that word is telestai, all right. Make first aorist, subjunctive passive voice, comes from teleo in Greek. Do you see all that written down there? As you go along, the 1,000 years, kilia ete, he shall be set free. That word comes, our word loose actually comes from this word. To loose, to set free. Third person singular, future, indicative, passive. The Satan. All right, what's the word Satan mean? One who opposes or one who stands against. What was Satan's original name?
Lucifer.
Lucifer. What does Lucifer mean? Light carrier. Light carrier. Well, he turned from an angel of light until an angel of darkness, didn't he? All right. And he's Satan, the opposer, is turned out of the phylakes. Look at that word, phylakes. That's his prison cell. All right, look over here. 27 through 9, it talks about that. That's where we are right now. It talks about Satan in the bottomless pit. Now he'd been locked up, 21 through 3, in the bottomless pit. Now he's going to be turned loose. Now for 1,000 years, mankind has served God because they had to. Over there are no atheists. There aren't any agnostics to give us any trouble. All right? What is an agnostic? What's an agnostic? All right. Let me get a pencil over here.
They don't know.
All right. Our word knowledge comes from this little old Greek word right here, gnosko. And here's our word knowledge, okay? That's the word knowledge. Okay? And it comes from the Greek word gnosko, and here's our word knowledge, just exactly like it. Okay, that's where it comes from, right out of the Greek word. Now, we have agnostics. Agnostics say, see that word comes right out of Greek, doesn't it? All right, agnostic. So what they say is they don't know. Agnostic, not knowers. That's what an agnostic is, someone that doesn't know. They say that they don't know whether there is a God or not. Now that sounds okay, doesn't it? You just don't know whether there's any God or not. You just don't know. But is that what they believe? Brother John, do you know any more about that?
Well, they act like they know there isn't any.
They say that there is no way to know if there's a God. That's what their statement is. There is no way that anybody can know whether there's a God or not. Okay? We don't know. We don't know whether there's a God or not, and neither do you. That's what they say. You don't have any evidence there is a God. And there is no way that you can know whether there's a God or not. That's what they believe. Okay? That's what an agnostic is. Now it's a little bit more than, we get our word ignorant from that also. All right? Ignorant. When somebody's ignorant of something, they say we're ignorant. All right? Whether there's a God or not. But they say so are you. You don't know. Nobody can know. Now what's an atheist? An atheist.
No God.
All right? That means it comes from theos, just like that. All these words come from Greek. They're all Greek terms, okay? And it has an alpha in the front of it. Now, anytime you put an alpha in front of a word in Greek, you've got a negative. That means it's nothing. No, okay? All right, so atheist it means one who know gods. Okay? One who know gods. they say is that they don't believe in God. They're no-Godders. No-Godders. The Bible says, the atheist says in his heart, no God. Now that's in Hebrew. In Hebrew, the better translation of that would be, the atheist says in his heart, no God, no God, no God, no God, no God. He keeps on telling himself there's no God. Because you know what? For a man not to believe in God, you have to keep on trying to convince yourself there's no God. Because every time you see a flower, every time you see a tree blossom, every time you see a whale in the ocean or a fish or some kind of creature out here running around, even a bug across the floor, something made it. It didn't evolve that way. And if you are a rational being, all right, if you are rational, Albert Einstein says, I respect religion. That's what he said. I respect religion, but I believe in mathematics. That's what he said. Albert Einstein says, I respect religion, but I believe in mathematics. Now, Albert Einstein, of course, he was a Jew, wasn't he? All right. Now, this Jew absolutely believed in mathematics. Now, if you're an atheist, you have to keep on telling yourself there's no God. Because mathematically, this world could not have become into existence by evolution. Mathematics will tell you that it's absolutely impossible for this earth to have evolved. So you have to have strong faith and keep on telling yourself there's no God. Okay, Brother Rex, you had a question.
No, I was just going to say the agnostic he claims he doesn't know if there's a God, and the atheist says there is no God, right?
Yeah. But the agnostic also says that he doesn't know whether there's a God or not,
Yeah.
but neither can you.
Yeah.
There's no way of knowing whether there's a God or not. All right, it says now,
What's a Gnostic?
that's a know-it-all. A Gnostic was one that had a greater revelation. Those are the ones that the modern Gnostics are your Jehovah's Witnesses, brother.
Cults, in other words.
It's a cult. But they tried to do away with the Gnostics. Now, we got half of the Bible in the New Testament written against the Gnostics, okay? 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, the book of Revelation, the Gospel according to John, Colossians, all of these books were written against not agnostic, but Gnostics in the New Testament time. Those are the ones that tried to say that God had not revealed himself exactly, that he didn't become flesh. John 1:14 says, Kahologo sarx aganeto, and the word flesh he became, and the Jehovah flesh he became, and dwelt among us. It tells you very plainly there. And then 1 John again, he says, and we saw him, we heard him, and we handled him with our hands. We touched him. So what does that mean? That God did become flesh, that we really did see Jehovah in flesh. Simple as that. The agnostics says that didn't happen. Or not the agnostics, the Gnostics say that did not happen. Okay? So now let's get back to this. All during this period of time, we studied this morning about the cesspool of the Canaanites. We studied the end of the book of Judges today, and it ended up in a cesspool, is what it was. It was horrible. Israel was absolutely contaminated with all of that rotten heathenism around them. And we saw all of that. All through this period of time, all the way from the garden, this way now, God has trouble with mankind. And did God ever reveal himself? Did he ever appear to mankind? All right. Occasionally he appeared to mankind. All right. In the garden he walked with man every day, didn't he? And Adam, what did Adam do? It was a habit of God walking with Adam in the garden, didn't he? They were in fellowship with God, and then all of a sudden, Adam let his woman get out of control and go over there and grab a hold of that fruit, that forbidden fruit, whatever it was, from the tree of knowledge. And he wasn't doing his job watching her, and she believed the serpent. So then we have, from that time on, now we're out of fellowship with God because of what our forefathers did. But why is the millennial reign coming up? What's the purpose of the millennial reign?
It's to weed out the,
Huh?
it's to weed out the final unbelievers.
Well, it does that. But there's more also. We got agnostics today. We've got Gnostics. And we've got atheists in the world. Okay? There won't be any of those here. We've had them all the way down through here, and we're plagued with them here. Okay? We're not going to be plagued with them over here. Everybody's going to know there's a God. Do you think there's anybody on this earth that's not going to believe in God during the millennial reign? They're going to have to go. They're going to have at least 1,000 Feasts of Tabernacles where they worship God. Do you think the Lord is going to walk down at least this time of the year and reveal Himself? You're going to see the city of God up there above the earth? Or are you going to doubt? Is there going to be any doubt that there is a God? All right. So there won't be any agnostics. There won't be any atheists here. Okay? Like the old adage says, there's an atheist. We're having an atheist funeral today. He's all dressed up and no place to go. Well, yes, he had a place to go. Where he was going and where he went. He did not want to go, but he went. Okay? That happened all through our time, all through down through here. They worship different gods and everything. Why did they do that? Why did Israel get caught up with paganism and idolatry? Because they wanted to. They wanted to. It appeals to the flesh. It all appeals to the flesh. Now, there's going to be true worship on this earth, and Israel's going to lead out in the true worship of God on this earth for 1,000 years. 1,000, that's 10 100-year periods of time. There's going to be 1,000 celebrations of the Shavuot, the Feast of Pentecost, or the Feast of Tabernacles. All right? 1,000 of them. Not any. There's nobody going to be here that doesn't believe in God. But they are going to be mankind, and the Adamic nature is rebellious, isn't it? The Adamic nature is rebellious. If you'd have been in the garden with Adam, young lady, if you'd have been Eve, okay, would you have partaken of that tree?
I would like to say no, but probably.
Yes, we would. We'd have done exactly what he did. That's the whole purpose of this, is to show us that there is going to be a proportion of mankind that are at the end, when Satan goes back out, he is going to convince them that they can overthrow God. And they can be better than God. What was Satan's appeal to the woman? Aha! God doesn't really want you to eat of this tree because you will be smart as He is. You'll be wise like He is. He's keeping you in the dark. He doesn't want to share His glory with you. And in all reality, God had shared already their glory with them. And there was nothing good that they would not have learned. Did you know that? It wasn't the tree of knowledge. Because God was imparting to mankind. Adam was probably the smartest person that ever lived among humanity. He lived for over 900 years, people. And for a long time, God was his teacher. Now, and do you think? How old's the oldest person here? Me? Brother John? Brother Rex? You would hang around on this earth. And when you get older, Brother John, things don't stick in there like they did when you were 30, does it?
True.
It doesn't. You know that I study hard to teach the classes that I teach now. And you say, why do you have to study? I told my wife, I've got to go home and study for this class tonight. And she looked at me, why? Because I can't remember what I'm supposed to teach. That may sound awful funny to you, but I can't. One time I had it down pretty good, but it started evaporating for some reason or other. There's holes in there. You know, it's evaporating out now. Now I got to go put some back in before I get ready to teach it so I can remember what I'm supposed to be doing. This 1,000-year reign here, people are going to live 1,000 years. And some of those people that live 1,000 years are going to rebel against God. And they've got good brains at the end of that 1,000 years. Their cells are all still working. Brother David? Do you think that at one time or another that if you're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, how about it if your brain worked like when you were 10? And it happens all the way for 1,000 years like that, but still at the end of that 1,000-year reign. Wouldn't that be wonderful, Brother John?
Yes, it would.
If you could just remember like you did when you was 30 years old. It was good back then. I remember that. I remember when I had a brain. Now that I don't have it, I really miss it. Well, that's the way it is. We won't have any of that in the millennium. We won't have the problem in the millennium. Well, 1,000 years are completed. Verse number 8, Brother David. 20 and verse 8. Do you have that?
And will go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, together, then together to battle, whose number is as the sand of the sea.
All right, now that's going to be a lot of people in it. And he shall go out, he the devil, he said to deceive, that means to lead astray. Our word planet comes out where it's planese, all right, planet. What does a planet do? How many of you ever seen the galaxies through telescopes and things? And the galaxies out there, how that they form and everything. And how the gravity holds every galaxy together. Well, God created all these. Now this guy, he's going out there to get everything out of order. The word planet means to be in a pattern, okay? And he says he's going out to lead people out of the pathway. The nations, the ethne, and the ones in the four corners of the earth. And then it says, Ton Gog, the God, Chi Magog, and Magog. Now, who in the world is Gog and Magog? To assemble them unto the war, the polemo, unto the war, okay? Who's Gog and Magog? Who in the world are they? Go back to Genesis, the first book in the Bible, okay? Go back to the book of Genesis, the first book in the Bible. See, I did a interlinear of the New Testament and the Old Testament too. And when I teach the book of Genesis, we're going to study about in the 10th chapter of Genesis, you have the formation of all the nations in the world. All right? All right. Now let's read this here. Brother David, are you over there in Genesis 10 and verse 2? All right.
The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras.
Okay, let's look at this. And the sons of Japheth. What in the world does Japheth mean? You know that he was born about 2448 BC. All right? Japheth. All right, these are the three sons of Noah, aren't they? The three sons of Noah are all the earth population. That's the source, okay? And we have Japheth. All right? Japheth means spreading. It means extender. It means light complexion. Also, Japheth. All right? From the sons of Japheth, we have Gomer. All right, Gomer. Gomer was born about 2340 BC now, Gomer was. And that's your Germanic tribe, okay? That's your Germanic, your Celtics. This is what they are, okay? That's the Germans and the Celts, all right? And then it says, and Magog, Magog. Magog. That goes way back to the book of Genesis, doesn't it? Now, who's Magog? All right, Magog. That means to invade. The name Magog means to invade. It means to pursue. It means to attack. These are the Russians. You ever heard about the Russian Cossacks? Oh, I mean, they've been famous for this. How long did, you know, what did God say about them in Genesis the 10th chapter? All right. They're the attackers. Where is Satan going to go? Go get them. Go get these warriors. All right? He's going to go get the warriors. Magog. And then it says, we, Gomer. All right? All right? And Gomer. All right? Magog and Gomer. All right. These are the people. Gomer. That's the Medes and the Persians. By the way, he was born about 2320 BC. And then Javan. It says here, Javan. That's the land of vines. The land of vines. The Ionian traders. All right? 2298 BC. And then Tubal. Tubal. Tubal is near Russia. All right? Tubal. Tubal means flowing. This is the first worker in metal. Tubal was. The first worker in metal. Is this interesting? All right. Tubal, the first worker in metal, and he's born about 2300 BC. And then we go Meshech and Meshech. All right, Meshech. That town in Russia is called Moscow. These are the people that founded Moscow. Meshech. Okay? Meshech, 2320 BC. And Meshech means biting. It means acquisition. It means possession. All of these things. That's what it means. So we have Gog and Magog. So we have Russia and we have Magog, which are the Russian people. These are the fighters. All right? They are fighters. And how long ago did God prophesy the way they would do this? In the 10th chapter of the book of Genesis. And in the last book of the Bible, are those guys still around? There they are. Well, they fought the Antichrist, didn't they? In the book of Revelation. They bit and they bit and they clawed and they acquired and they attacked, didn't they? Well, it says he's gone out to deceive the nations. Now this is what I call Satan's post-millennial career. Satan's post-millennial career. All right? His post-millennial career, and it's very short. How many of you like him? Satan. Anybody? Dakota, you like Satan? You have anything? If there's anything to like about him at all? I'd like to see him locked up and put away and shut up for forever. Okay? Now he's gone out to assemble, synagogue, all right, to assemble. We have, the Jews have a meeting house that they call the synagogue, don't they? Now this is the synagogue of Satan here, the synagogue of Satan. Yeah, they're going to make war. And it says there's going to be a great arithmos. Look at that word there. 20 and verse 8 on the second page. On 20 and verse 8b, arithmos. Did we have an English word that comes from arithmos? What do you think? Arithmetic. It says, and the arithmetic of them as the sand of the Thalasses. The sand of the sea. There's going to be a lot of them going to rebel against God, aren't they? There are a lot of them have the Adamic nature, and they're going to rebel against God. The old boy doesn't give up, does he? Satan. He has not given up. How long has he been rebelling against God? Look at Satan's path on here. Look at here, Isaiah 14, 12 through 15, Ezekiel 28. His pathway is a crooked pathway. See that crooked pathway? Not like a snake. Look through here, Job 1 and 7. Ephesians 2 and 2. All of this, all the way down through here. We see Satan's pathway. Revelation 27 through 10. That's where we are. We see him thrown into the bottomless pit. We see him wreak havoc upon mankind over here all the way during this period of time. He's even worshipped as God here for a short time, isn't he? And then he's thrown into the bottomless pit. And then while he's in jail, does he give up? In jail, he doesn't give up. He's going to come out and he's going to conquer. He always thinks he can do it. You know, there is a mental illness that people get. I think they acquire it by the Adamic nature. And that mental illness means that they're gonna, nothing can put them down. They're gonna succeed no matter what. They're gonna succeed no matter what. They're narcissistic. They will succeed no matter what. They are going to overcome anything. Nothing is going to slow them down. They just are going to succeed. And our evil opponent, Satan, is narcissistic. He always thinks he's going to win. All right. 20 and verse 9 now. 20 and verse 9. Brother Rex, are you over there?
And they came up on the broad plain of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints and the beloved city. And fire came down from heaven and devoured them.
All right. And it says, and they went up on a bino. Is what that comes from, that word up. They went up. Third person plural, second aorist, indicative active. They went up. All right. Over the plateaus. What's the word for flat ground in Spanish? What is it?
Plano.
Plateau.
Plateau.
Okay, where did it come from?
Latin.
Where did that come from? Greek. There you go. It came from Greek into Latin, into Spanish, and here it is, plateau. That's what it means, the plateau. The plateau. Out in the broad plain. They're going to have a great big battlefield again. People like to get out on battlefields, don't they? Through mankind. Europe warred and warred and warred over there. Europe did. You know, they say at one time, all the way from one end of Europe to the Middle East, they say a squirrel, back in around 1000 BC, they say a squirrel could jump from tree to tree and never hit the ground from the furthest point of Denmark and Great Britain out there in Ireland and Scotland, and jump from tree to tree and make it all the way to the Middle East. You know that mankind fought so many wars and burned and persecuted so many people that they cut down almost all the forest. At one time in the Middle East there weren't any forests left. It was all just clear cut. Fighting.
That's what happened to America.
Yeah.
They say that a squirrel from Mississippi to the Atlantic coast could have went from tree
Went
to
from
tree.
tree to tree. Yeah. People chopped the trees down. Chopped the trees down. Back over there in Europe, they chopped the trees down warring, making their war machines. And burning people's houses down. They build houses and they burn them down. And they fought back and forth. I know we talked about this here a while back. My wife did her DNA. Her father was supposed to be pure Danish. That's a joke. Think over there about Europe for a while. Those people were tribal. They went fighting back and forth and back and forth. They conquer here and they conquer there. The Germans and the Russians, and they fought back and forth all the time. The word Viking, you know what Viking means? Viking? The Vikings came all the way to America, 1000 AD or earlier. They were over here in America. You can check the DNA in the American Indian bloodlines and you'll see that they got here. Because it's in our DNA. Okay? You'll find out when the Spanish got here. And also, in Europe, during the Dark Ages and the so-called Christian wars and crusades, they fought all the way from the Middle East to Europe. And the Arabs came all the way into France and Italy and Spain. You check any Spaniard's blood today and you'll find out they got a lot of Arab blood in them. Those people warred and fought all the way across Europe, back and forth and back and forth to try. Why did they do that? Why did they want something you got? That's what's caused every war. We want something you got. They want something we've got. And they're going to kill us for it. That's what war is about. That's the whole purpose of war, is to get what somebody else has. And try to get it for nothing. The only problem is it takes a lot of people's lives to do it. A lot of people die for somebody else's wants. They do that. It said they went across the breadth of the earth and encircled that. There's a superintendent of schools in Bakersfield area called Kuklos. His name was Kuklos. That was Dakota's principal out there at Lakeside when she was going to principal out there at Lakeside. His name is Kuklos. He has a Greek name. His name means circle. That's what that word comes from. And Kuklesov. Kuklos. They encircled the camp, the parabole, the camp of the saints, and of the city, the having been loved. What city is that? This morning, what? Jerusalem. This morning we looked at that city when we had that old Levite going there with a concubine. Remember, it was called Jebus. The Jebusites. All right? The city of Jebus. All right? This is the old ancient city of Jebus. The one having been loved, and it came down fire out of the heaven. And it ate them up. It licked them up. The fire out of heaven. Now back in the Old Testament time, remember when Elijah had that warfare on Mount Carmel with those prophets of Baal? All right. What did he do? How did he end up the contest? With fire out of heaven that ate them up and burned up all of the prophets of Baal. All right. And here we have it again. This fire out of heaven, it ate down them. Ezekiel 38, 9, 16, and 22, and 39, and verse 6, and Deuteronomy 23, and verse 4, Psalm 87, verse 2, and Revelation 13, and verse 13. These are cross-references to this, just like in the days of Elijah. Now, could Jesus have called fire down out of heaven to lick them all up around the cross of Calvary? He could have. But he didn't, because he needed to die on the cross of Calvary to redeem us. He had to go through that substitutionary death. All right, 20 and verse 10, good news. 20 and verse 10, good news. Young man, can you read that for me? 20 and verse 10?
Yes.
Adrian, is that your name,
Yes.
Adrian? Oh, all right.
And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet have been thrown.
All right.
They will be tormented day and night forever and ever.
All right, let's look at this. And the devil, the diabolos. Now we called him Satan before, didn't we? The one who stands against God. Now diabolos. Diabolos comes from two Greek words. Dia and balo. Two Greek words, all right? Dia and balo. And we have an English word that comes from this. Ball. What do you do with a ball? What do you do with a ball?
Throw it, kick it.
You throw it. Okay? And if you take a real hard ball, like .45 caliber, and you throw it at about 1,000 feet per second at somebody, what happens to them?
They get hurt.
It hurts a lot.
It's a big hole in them.
You know, my family on all sides, except you go back to Smith Paul, he was a pure Scotsman. Back in 1809, I had a white man in my family. All the rest of them are Indians. Okay. No, I had a white man someplace or another. But a lot of my people died of Diabolo, about .45 caliber. My father was killed with a .45 caliber gun. My great-grandfather was shot by a white man with a shotgun and killed him over his land in Oklahoma. That's what wars calls for, wars. Okay? A lot of my family shot each other, didn't they, Brother Rex? You read the book about my family. Shadow of an Indian Star. They did a lot of shooting at each other, didn't they? They not only shot at white people every now and then, but they shot each other. My great-great-grandfather, Sam Paul, was shot by his son, Joe Paul. Joe Paul was shot by his cousin, Tecumseh McClure's son, Jennison McClure. Jennison McClure was killed by my great-grandmother's brother, Willie. They did a lot of shooting at each other, a lot of diablo. What causes all this killing? The same evil, wicked nature that old Satan has. That's where it comes from. Diablo. Diabolos. And the diabolos. The one leading people astray, the one deceiving. That word planet comes from there now. And he's, look at this word, present participle active. That's one of them continuing things. He's continuously doing this. The one leading all the mass of humanity astray, he was cast. Look at that word. He was thrown out unto the limnae, unto the lake, to Pirus of the fire. Have you ever, Brother John, did you ever play marbles when you were little?
Yes.
Brother David, did you play marble? Brother X, did you play marble?
Yeah.
All right. Did you ever hear a Piri?
A what?
A Piri. A Piri was a clear marble.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you know something, they were fiery red, a lot of them. They were fiery red. Piri, Piros.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from, this word right here.
Oh.
Piros. Piros. Fiery. All right? The lake of fire. Okay? And by the way, when you get glass, when you get sand real hot, what does it turn into? Glass. All right? The lake of fire and sulfur. How many of you know sulfur is hot, isn't it? When you get sulfur to burning, I mean to tell you, how many of you ever had a flare? You ever have a flare? They don't use them as much as they used to. They used to have flares and put them on the side of the road, throw them out there. And you can take a flare and you can cut metal with it.
Yeah.
It'll melt metal.
I've done that.
You can melt metal with it. That's how hot it is. And if you get it on you, I mean, it'll burn plumb through you. That's sulfur. Sulfur is hot. The word sulfuric acid. You know where sulfuric acid comes from? That's hot stuff, boy. That'll burn you up. Sulfuric acid comes from sulfur. Sulfuric acid, sulfur acid. Sulfuric acid. Hot stuff. Feels like that outside today in Bakersfield, doesn't it? Seems like the sun got a little closer today. 105 and 10 degrees. That was 108 when you come up out here, Shirley. 108 degrees. And the last of August, fire. Fire. The old devil woke up in hell, didn't he? The old devil woke up in hell. Oh, what did he wake up in hell? Did he know he's going to hell?
Yes.
I remember one time, a long time ago, I was breaking this horse. I was a horseman. And I had this stallion. And his name was Handy Star King. He was a real good-blooded quarter horse. Real good-blooded. And he was a tremendous athlete. He was tremendous. Powerful horse. About 1,400 pound stallion. And I'd been breaking him for a couple of years, and he had a bad temper. His mother was, her name was Star Bess, and she was out of Oklahoma Star, and there was some coaster blood in there, and some of those coaster horses would kill you. They were grizzly bears, I'm telling you. They were bad. They would eat you alive, literally. I'm not kidding. I've been on the other end of that situation, I know. When I was real young, I went to work up here on the Home Ranch, and they had some of that real rough horse flesh up there. And I tell stories like this. These modern horses, they bred that out of them. You better be thankful they bred it out of them, because they were killers back then. There were really zebra duns and the old strawberry roans. They really existed back then. I know because I wrote them. I worked for old Harry Rose out there in Old River, right where I live. And Harry Rose was a real rough man. He was rough. He was a world's champion saddle bronc rider, and he got an old horse called Lucky Buck. And he was a horse that was a bucking horse. For many years, he was a bucking horse. He was in a bucking string in the rodeos. Harry got him out and rode that horse because he was so agile. And he made one of the world's greatest cutting horses out of him in the world. And he was a bucking horse. But he rode him and broke him. And I was out there working with Harry Rose, and I saw him take 1-inch pieces of pipe, 10 foot long, and just bend it right over horses' backs. Those studs. Beat the tar out of them, boy. I mean, just thrash them. Because they were coming at you with feet and teeth, boy. And he just beat them into submission. Well, I had a hold of one of them a few times in my life. I was working out there with him, too. I saw those grizzly bears. 1,500-pound machine, boy. Well, I had this horse I bought, and I broke him. He was really a good athlete and everything else, but he'd get mad. And when he'd get mad, he wanted to kill you. Well, a stud is real good because you can get $200 or $300 a month, a time for a stud feed back then. If you gild them and make them gentle, they aren't worth a flip. They're not worth anything because you can't breed and make money with you show them a horse or whatever in a show, but that's all. You can't make money with them. That's the way these great race horses and stuff. They're stallions. All right? Geldings aren't worth much. Well, I tried to break him. And every now and then he'd just blow up on me. And one day I got out there in one fall. It was a stormy day, lightning going on and everything else. And I had to ride that horse every day. If you didn't ride him every day, you had problems the next day. You got to stay on top all the time. So I got out there and it was rainbow. That horse was rainbow. His whole back was bowed up in the middle. I put the saddle on him. I got on him and he bucked all the way where I was going to work him. Just bucked and bucked and bucked. And he hated it because he couldn't throw me. He couldn't get me off his back. And every now and then he'd just get mad and he'd sunfish on me. You know what sunfishing is? That's when they jump up in the world in the air and just fall right straight down on their back because they're going to crush you. They know what they're doing. So he'd sunfish on me, and when he'd hit the ground or get close to the ground, I'd step out of it, and when he'd roll back over to get back up, I'd be back in the middle of him again. See, I used to could really do that. Now I'm old and crippled and slow, but then I could do that. And he hated it. He'd hit the ground, and I'd be off of him, and I'd just jump right back on him when he got up, and when he got up, I was on him again. And I'd gone through this several times that day, him bucking and sunfishing on me and everything else, and finally I got him settled down, I thought. Because you got to ride him until they quit. That's the way it is. And I headed toward my yard because I thought he was settled down, and he got right in front of my yard and started in again, and it went up in the air, and he hit the ground real hard, just like a 10-foot, like a pile driver, boy, like he's knocking 10-foot holes in the ground. Just hit that ground hard like that. And then he just wheeled backwards and going to fall on me. And he knew I was going to come off on the left side, so he went after me on the left-hand side. And when I stepped off, all I saw was his mouth with his mouth wide open. And that bit in his mouth, and he hit me right inside the head and cut my ear completely in two there. Not only did he do that, but he gave me a basal fracture. My head was cracked all the way across the bottom. That usually kills you. You're dead. When he did that, he deafened my right ear. I have never heard from my right ear since. That's the end of that. Okay? And then he went to work on me, picking me up and shaking me like a rag, like a dog will. A rag. I was out. He knocked me out. I should have been dead. The angels were busy again. He shook me and stomped me. I had horseshoe prints and teeth marks all over me. And one of the fellows there, my neighbor, ran over there and pulled him off of me and took him out. And then he carried me in the house. And he said I was just dead. When I woke up, I couldn't see. I was blind. I thought I'd gone to hell. I really did. I thought I had gone to hell. I was blind, I was deaf, and I didn't know who I was. I had amnesia. And I tried to stand up, and I'd fall down, and finally everything started coming back into a blur. Just everything was real blurry. And I couldn't hear them, and I just felt like I was on fire. I thought I was just burning all over like this sulfur. I didn't know who I was. And I asked this guy, "Who are you?" He said, "Jimmy." He said, "I'm Junior." He said, "Your horse almost killed you. He tried to kill you." You know, like this. I said, "What horse?" He's telling me all about this later. I said, "What horse?" He said, "Your horse." He said, "That stud." He said, "He's mean." He said, "You ought to kill him." You know, like that. I said, "I don't like any horse." I said, "Why are you calling me Jimmy?" He said, "That's your name." And I got to where I could see a little bit, and I was starting to hear, but everything was just ringing, and just talk about tinnitus. Boy, I mean, it was bad. And I was just sick at my stomach and everything, and I looked at it, I was bleeding all over the place, and they took me off to the doctor, and for 6 months I couldn't get on that horse. I had a basal fracture, usually die from that. And not only that, my neck was broken. But it had been broke before, and it had healed back wrong. But when I woke up, I thought I was in hell. I really thought I was in hell. I didn't know who I was, and I was burning all over. I experienced hell. I didn't want no more of it. I finally got to figuring out what was going on in 2 or 3 days. That's the closest experience to hell that I want. But you know what? The old devil, he's going there. And I can tell you, it's got to be worse than what I felt. But for weeks, they had to take great big hundreds of cc's of blood. That horse had taken my flesh and completely pulled it away from my body. And water was all over my whole body. And they took and just pulled many, many cc's, hundreds of cc's of water and fluid between my skin was skin and torn from my flesh. It was just loosened up. I still have horseshoe prints and teeth marks on me today. That was a long time ago. That's about 1960. Long time ago. Well, I experienced a horrible thing. I experienced amnesia. I experienced blindness and deafness. And you know what? I don't want to go to hell. And you know what? Thanks to the Lord, I won't. I don't have to. But some people are going to feel like that forever, except worse. That's the closest thing to hell that I ever want to experience. And they shall be tormented day and night. Hemeros and niktos. Our word night comes right out of it. Niktos, night. All right? Lila is the word in Hebrew. Lila. Yom, day. Lila, night. Day and night, unto the ages of the ages of the ages of the ages of the ages. It's not going to end. It's going to be forever and ever. Well, you want to go any further? Is this far enough? You want another verse? Okay. You want to go a little bit further? It's 5:30 now. You want to go another verse, or wait next week?
Oh, how about Marilyn? She's home without you. So.
Now she's home without me. Yeah, she didn't feel good tonight. That's why she's not here. All right. Well, we'll come back there 20 and verse 11 next week. Is that all right? Do you have any questions?
Oh, I did want to ask. You said a while ago that we would be taught during the kingdom restoration.
I said we're going to go to school for 1,000 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I've had feelings, now this is just my feelings, that when you get with the Lord, He will just instantly, you'll know everything. That's not so.
It wouldn't be fun that way, would it?
Well, no.
I don't think we're going to have it. I don't think we're going to forget anything from there on. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun learning. I love to learn. I'm an old man, and I really love to learn. I still do. I'm having a ball studying the book of Genesis again. going back. A lot of it I have forgotten. I haven't had that in class for 40 years. And I'm going back and rewriting the whole book of Genesis and writing interlinear with all those dates down, all those names and what they mean and everything else. I'm having a ball. I knew it once, now I'm relearning it again. Over there, I won't have to learn it twice. I can learn it the first time and keep it. Catch it and you got it. But I think we'll do a lot of learning. I think we'll understand. I think we'll learn about God. We're in a kindergarten right here, learning about the Lord. Over there, we're going to be in seminary. Extended, advanced classes, like Adam did in the garden. We will experience what Adam experienced in the garden. I think God is going to show us the whole universe. He's going to tell us about every little thing He made out there, about every creature He ever created. We can ask Paul, the apostle, maybe about the conversion that he had on the road to Damascus. All of these things. About Moses, what he thought when he saw the bush burn. Well, we'll be doing a lot of fellowship over there, won't we? That sounds like fun. You only get to go there if you're saved. You're not going to get to go there if you're not. Well, I'm going to turn you loose on the world. Go out and do something eternal. All right? Go out and do something eternal this week. Brother David, would you like to assist us in prayer, brother?
Our Heavenly Father, thank you for the class tonight. Be with us this week as we go out into the world and help us to carry your word to the folks out there and to be an example for you. Dear God, and be with those that are in need of our watch here and safe and ill, and those that have special needs this week. We ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.